but by a court decision. Many people feel they lost their rights to have a say in the matter when the legislature rejected their initial petition signed by over 100,000 people. As our state attorney general, what action would you take to contest the decision by the Supreme Judicial Court?
In that matter, the decision is 5 years old now. There's not much we can do in terms of contesting that. We can't reverse it. They've made a decision based on Massachusetts state law, a decision which was wrong. And it found a right that was purportedly in the Constitution the whole time it was there, and no one found it because no one looked for it. That right was not there. As a matter of course, the SJC and other courts will find rights and identify them over time. There was no such right as was found there. My position on gay marriage is people should be able to do what they want. If they can find a minister to get them married, fine. Do what you'd like. And best of luck. The question really is legal recognition of that union. And if they're seeking that and they've now obtained legal recognition of unions besides the traditional one, that I don't favor, because you've now done something besides what you want to do. You've required someone else to recognize what you've done. You've made them do something. This isn't you doing what you want. This is you requiring someone else to do something, which is where I have a problem with it. People who want to get married and be happy, please. That's exactly what they write, and frankly, it's none of my business. My concern is when they make it our business by requiring us to recognize it under the law. That decision now is part of the law. And to be very frank, it's not part of our campaign at this point because there's nothing we can do to reverse that decision from then. I guess you could talk about a constitutional amendment, and that would have made much more sense to do than have a judicial decision by the SJC back in 2004 or 5.
Okay, and let me go back to one of my questions. We've been seeing in the news of parents taking their children, leaving to other countries and so on. Right. Will you fight for those families and for those children illegally removed from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to be brought back to the Commonwealth?
To my understanding, that's in violation of the kidnapping law. And that would be kidnapping, which would be an indictable offense. And yes, that would be something which should not be let go because it's difficult. If there's an indictment, that provides more of a basis for extradition. And that, well, could be the way to go. Again, it depends on the facts, but as you put it, if they've been removed illegally, that is something that should be followed up by our government.
And so under your administration, the people will have the right to publicly petition to remove bad judges, clerks, and lawyers?
In terms of a petition to remove judges?
Correct. Anyone that feels that their civil rights, judges violating civil rights, restraining orders being granted under without due process, anything that infringes the people's rights under the Constitution.
If you feel wronged in a court proceeding, do you have the right to bring a petition against the judge?
For example, if you submit a complaint to an attorney, about an attorney, that complaint has to be submitted to the Bar of Overseers, which are a bunch of attorneys looking at other attorneys. Okay, there's a brotherhood there, brotherhood, sisterhood there. You look at the judiciary system with the judges. When you file a complaint with the judges, the justices are the ones to look at that. The Judiciary Committee is to look at that, which is made up of judges, chief justices, and so on. That's a conflict of interest.
The Judicial Conduct Commission, I know, includes people who are not judges, which provides, I'm sure there are judges on there, but there are people who are not, which then will bring a sense of fairness to that whole proceeding. Without them, your point is very well taken. If it's one judge looking out for another in terms of perception, then that's a problem. But I know there are people who have never served as judges or as lawyers on the Judicial Conduct Commission. And they, to my understanding, take their job very seriously, There are a number of complaints brought against judges which are unfounded, and there are a number that are founded, and they have to sift through a vast multitude of those cases. I know they take it very seriously, and it's all done essentially in secret. They can't publicize what happens in that conduct commission.
But people have the right to know if a judge that they're going to be going up against or in front of is a biased judge, has a conflict of interest, and so on. Do the people have that right? I mean, is there a way to hold judges accountable and lawyers accountable in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts?
In terms of my experience with judges, I have tried cases where the judge has said, I know this person, I'm going to recuse myself. And in my experience, very frankly, they've done a wonderful job of stepping up and saying, I didn't recognize this person, but now I see this as a former client, and backing away. And they're very good about that. In terms of lawyers and how they could be punished or otherwise disciplined for what they've done, there is the Board of Bar Overseers who complaints are brought against lawyers on a regular basis, and those complaints are taken very seriously. I am certain of that. And in terms of changing that system, that part of the system works generally well. I'm sure it fails in some cases, but I do know that those are lawyers generally who are judging other lawyers. They tend to do it well. And again, there'll be cases that don't work well because there are people involved, and people will fail a certain percentage of the time. But they try well, and their heart's in the right place.
Let me just remind the viewers that this is part one of two. You will be sticking around for another segment. We're going to have a discussion with you on your issues, on why you're running, and so on, and get into a little bit further into your message. My last question I want to ask you is, if I'm not mistaken, Martha Coakley has stated that she negotiated to lower the cost of the kilowatts by 2 cents, down from 20 cents to like 18 cents.
Right.
Now, I don't have the background or the educational diplomas that these people have, but when I looked at it, it seemed to me that we're paying 9 cents per kilowatts now.
Yes.
So is it safe to say that under Martha Coakley's plan, that will double our rates?
Yes. There was a July 31, 2010 press release by Martha Coakley's office that spoke about how she saved $450 million, $500 million basically, by agreeing to drop the rates, by working an agreement, by holding the National Grid's feet to the fire, getting them to drop the rates 2 cents from 20 to 18. And nowhere in that press release does it mention the current price of 9. So, claiming to have saved $500 million without actually mentioning the fact that it's doubling the cost is a sort of breach of trust which is going to stop in January. Not only that, but last week or so, they realized they were off by $200 million. It's not going to 18, it's going to 19 under that agreement. A $200 mistake, $200 million mistake. How do you make a $200 million mistake? And now it's going to be apparently 19 cents per kilowatt hour. Hector, if it's 19 cents, I would be amazed. By the time this is all said and done, this big dig style project will have the cost far greater than that. But it made for a great call for a claim by the Attorney General. This was a great win. We saved the taxpayers $500 million, and then the press did run with that story.
Do you think Attorney General Martha Coakley is dismissing you sort of like she dismissed Scott Brown?
I don't know what she's doing, and I don't really pay attention to what, if anything, she's doing now. We're running our race. We're in the process of getting 10,000, more than 10,000 stickers on the ballot. And then we'll be on the ballot in November. We've got to get 10,000 people to write James Mckenna, 28 Mile Street, Millbury, Mass., or some combination of that, some part of that, on the ballot on September 14. If that happens, I'll be on the ballot against Martha Coakley on November 2nd.
And if people want to help you do that, what's your website, phone number, contact information?
Thank you very much. Jim4ag.com. And it's all there. We have had, in the last day, 181 people go to that website and volunteer to help. This campaign is exploding.
Well, we wish you all the luck out there, and if anybody wants to visit your website and help you out as much as they can. It was posted right there, jimforag.com. And you've been watching Behind the Scenes. I am your host, Hector Montalvo. Stay tuned for part 2 of my conversation with write-in candidate for Attorney General, Mr. Jim Mckenna. You've been watching Behind the Scenes, where we ask the tough questions, bring you their responses, and we let you decide. Thank you for watching.